It's Saturday, or it's Friday, your Saturday.
It's my Saturday.
So first I want to say happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. That's,
So
how old am I now? I'm 20. How old am I? 26. I don't want to know
mid
how old I
so
am.
mid 20s. Do you feel different?
I don't feel different. I just a bit depressed about it, to be honest. It just feels so old.
Really?
Yep,
Yeah. Well,
ready for that.
I think the late 20s and now early 30s have been some of the best years.
Yeah, I think there's only good things to come, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we should dive into this week's topic, which is mental health. And speaking of birthdays, I it just kind of brought me back to my 30th birthday.
Mm.
And that night, actually, I had a bit of like, say, like a panic attack about turning 30 because I
Mm.
had this really deep rooted feeling that that year something bad was going to happen, which is really odd because that is what exactly happened.
Sometimes you just know.
Yeah. So, I'd like to talk about like how I manage my anxiety because obviously, like going through medical trauma and just living with that uncertainty really forces you to develop ways to cope. Um, yeah. So, not an easy topic to talk about. It's not
It's not.
sexy.
It's not. It's definitely not a good time.
But I think it's good for people to hear that it's, I don't want to say normal, but it's okay to feel anxious and nervous about your situation, and it's okay to reach out for help.
Definitely. How about you start with your story, and then I'll
Okay.
I'll do
So
mine.
I the past month, I know that everyone's noticed I've taken a little bit of a break from Instagram, and a lot of that had to do with wanting to focus more on myself. And I wasn't having any like any particular thing that wanted me to do it, except I thought, okay, well, I have more time to like focus on myself. Not that I need fixing, because I don't think that at all, but maybe I can explore some of those um, things that I never had the time to explore before. And one of those things actually was mental health. So I started seeing an online psychologist, which has been really wonderful because she's given me some of the tools to cope. So one of the things that we identified is the way that I cope is by future planning. So
Yeah.
she like so one of the things that I've been kind of fantasizing about is what's who am I going to be at 35? And what is that going to look like? Well, the reality is, like living with a liver transplant is, yes, it's obviously amazing to have these plans and goals for yourself, but the best thing that you can do is just sit and be present and be okay with where you are today. Because that's really how, like through our conversations, how um, I can manage my anxiety best. So some of the things that I've been personally doing to help manage and kind of explore that is by journaling. So I've always done that, but not with intention. So in the mornings after I do my workout, and that's one thing that has really helped my anxiety. And I say this because I have always filled my life with projects
Yeah.
and being busy and doing things
Yeah.
and running a half marathon, going to work projects, this and this. But being sick last year, um it was the first time in my life where, and I was busy with that, but it was the first time in my life where I had to face all of these fears and anxieties that I've never had to face before. So I've just
Yeah.
been putting like a band-aid on everything, like, oh, I'm feeling
Mm.
anxious, okay, on to the next thing. I never really sat with it and explored it.
Yeah.
So journaling has really helped. Exercise helps. Not drinking alcohol, I will say, definitely helps. I feel like you know, in the past, I would say my anxiety's always been at a constant like 6 on a 1 to 10. But
Yeah.
I would say like, I think my baseline's probably at 2 or 3 now, which is, I think, a big improvement. And then, of
That's really
course, like
good.
acknowledging that the anxiety is there. I feel it most like when I walk into clinic and I have they check my heart rate. My heart rate will be like 120 and I'm
Yeah.
fine. Or even when like the health notification pops up, like I feel like my stomach drop. I feel my palms sweat. Like I feel that anxiety of like, is this the day? Even though I know in my head that everything is fine because physically everything looks okay.
Yeah.
So just, trying to better prepare myself for sitting with that. So one of the things that I do is I take a deep breath and I tell myself it's okay. And then I exhale and I say, you can relax now. It's
Yeah.
okay. And you can relax now. And I do that over and over again until I can kind of calm myself. But these are things that I personally wish that they would have taught me when I went to those clinic visits. Like, I never had a psychologist follow me until I was, seeking one out myself, and that was relatively recently. Um, and it was just more to like have a safe place to talk, and it's been super helpful. I haven't really tried meditating, but that's something I would explore. But I really wish that I would have had like somebody would have given me more tools growing up to kind of cope with anxiety of living with a liver transplant.
Hmm.
Did you ever have any like one like sit you down and say like, hey, you may have anxious thoughts or
Um, so I guess my story is very, very different.
mm-hmm.
In the sense of I've had things happen my whole life. So it's, I don't really know how to start off. So obviously I had my transplant and all that sort of stuff. And there's obviously a certain amount of years that we don't remember.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's so many things that I do remember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess growing up, going through as much as I did, I was in and out of hospital. Mum says it's longer than 7 years, but I don't physically recall longer than 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just what I remember. With internal bleeding. So the thing is, I would bleed, and then I'd have to be sent to the hospital, which is 2 hours from my home. My mother would come with me, and the same process would happen every time I went because it was the same type of bleeding. I would stop eating, I would be put on medicine, I would then have tests, blah, blah, blah. And I was there for one to
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. I couldn't eat. That's when it all became a norm because it was
Mm-hmm.
so continuous and they couldn't do anything. So I had to accept the fact. But I guess your coping mechanism is very different to mine. Mine, I eat.
Oh.
I'm an emotional eater. So when I'm sick, I eat. And when I'm sad, I eat. And when I'm happy, I eat. And when I was in those times and I couldn't eat, I got so frustrated, and I don't know, because I found comfort in the eating and having
Mm-hmm.
something yummy, or I know that's really weird, but
No.
well, we was probably not. A lot of people probably do it. I just don't know that.
Oh yeah, a lot of people do, and I do definitely do that.
Um, so I found comfort in that. So that was a struggle, but my mental health growing up, I guess, as a kid, I didn't know any different. So it was my normal. And
Right.
even though it was difficult, I guess because my parents, you're still being looked after by your parents. They're still making your decisions. They're still everything. My mental
Mm-hmm.
health, I suppose, didn't really start to hit until maybe year 11 at school. So I think I was about 15, 16. That's when
Mm-hmm.
I started to really start. I've always known about everything, but at that age, you're starting to take control of your own life, in a sense. You're making your own
Yeah.
decisions and that sort of stuff. I missed a lot of school, so I struggled a lot with not having good friends. So I would see
Mm.
counsellors and that sort of stuff. I had been to a few psychologists over the years. Personally, I didn't like them.
Yeah.
And my reasoning was I didn't like sitting there telling them what I was going through. Not because I don't like talking about it, but because they're sitting there and they're telling me all of these things when really they don't, to me, they didn't know they didn't understand that you can't understand what someone goes through unless you're going through it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Did
my
it feel
mind, that,
better to talk to them though?
but I've always spoke to people. I would always talk to mum. I
Oh,
would
got
always
it.
talk. So I was always talking about it. I'd never not
Yeah.
talk about it. It was more to see if talking to someone different would make anything easier for me, and it didn't, because
Mm-hmm.
I even said to mum on many occasions, you can't understand what I'm going through, and she said, no, I can't, because I'm not you. And that
Mm-hmm.
has always been a big mentality. Like, I'm happy to talk to you or anybody, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't feel that suited me.
Mm-hmm.
Ever after that, then I guess there were so many days that after I finished school, because I had my big surgery, that I didn't like. I guess I went into hospital and that sort of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the biggest thing I could remember happening to me, apart from the bleeding. So this surgery took it out of me. And then after that, I was 20 years old, because following that, I had a bile thingy that you had, the block bile duct. So
Oh,
I was
yeah, the stricture. Yeah.
so I was nearly 21. Actually, I was
Yeah.
21, and I still hadn't had a
Oh.
job in my life. I didn't
Oh.
have proper friends. My best friend left me, like stopped being my friend. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and that ended. In the same week, my relationship of nearly 3 years and my best friend of 10 years, I lost both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where it all started to take a toll. That was the days that I didn't want to get out of bed, that I was
Mm-hmm.
so upset. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have something to look forward to every day. I still wasn't able to get a job because I was still getting things checked out at the hospital, so it would be pointless for me to have a job. I was 21. I had my parents paying for my medicine, my everything I did. I was driving their cars. I was essentially like a 12-year-old at 21. And that is where
Mm-hmm.
I struggled. And to this day, I'm still, in the past year, I think, is the year that I've really, really figured out what being an adult and learning things that you should learn when you're 16 years old about people and the world and all this sort of stuff. And that has taken a massive toll. And my only other thing that I guess that I struggle with is the anxiety side of things. So this
Mm-hmm.
week has been a big week for me, in the sense of,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not comfortable with something, whether it's like a doctor or something
Mm-hmm.
that's going on, I get anxious. I don't need to be in control. I just need to know that I'm heard, and that um, that I'm okay, with what's going on. Because if I'm not, like, a different doctor, a different place, it just puts me off, I guess, because I've been through so much. I know what I need. I know more than I know where to get a blood test. I tell them where to do it for me. It's all
Yeah.
those things, like, and something that puts me off, or it just freaks me out to the point of no return. Getting tests in a different hospital that they wanted me to do, I couldn't physically, and if they still tell me to do it, I can't do it. It's simple as that. That makes me very anxious, and my coping mechanism is I got to deal with it. I deal with it on my own, but I guess I've always been very open with my mother. So she's, and now my husband, they're very good at telling me to calm down, and that's all right. And I'm very okay with that. That helps me. And also my brother, he's helped me a lot in that side of things as well. Like, he's made a massive impact on how I am as a person and help me through things, because he's an anxious person too, so he understands me being anxious, whereas my mum or my husband, they're not anxious people, so they find it hard to understand, but they, of course, they do their best and all that sort of stuff. But even talking to you, like, you're an anxious person, so I guess at the end of the day, I need my feelings validated, and I'm okay. If I'm told that it's okay and it'll be all right, that I'm fine. I'm very okay with that. I will go through life and I will be down in the dumps, and I'll be like, why me? Why this? If something's happening. But I always climb back up. I always get back up. I don't know what it is. Something will just tick in my head, tick over, and I'll keep going. And that's just how I've always been. There's never been a time that I can't get myself back up. But it doesn't matter what anyone does, what anyone says. It's all within my timing. So I just continue on doing my own thing. I don't have anything like exercise, or I guess I like watching Friends.
Oh yeah.
Show.
I like watching the British Bake Off. Like, if I had a fight or if I'm anxious about something, if I put that show on, I can just relax, which I think everyone needs, like a toolkit, right?
Yeah.
And my toolkit's going to be different than your toolkit.
Most definitely.
And one is not better than the other, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's so interesting to hear how some people's toolkits, as you say, like yourself, you need to do something, you need to be busy.
Yeah.
But whereas I'm okay, but in saying that, some days I'm my own worst enemy. I have been told that a million times over.
Aww.
And I guess I don't really think too much about the future. I more get worried about the present. The only parts about the future is if, I don't know, something like my husband leaves me. I don't know, that stuff. But I don't need to know where I am going to be in 5 years or 10 years, because I guess I've been through that much that I know that things aren't always the same. Getting blood results doesn't stress me out. Getting that sort of stuff doesn't, the direct impact of my medical results and tests and that sort of stuff, that doesn't make me stressed or anxious, because I have that belief and that trust, and I've been through that much that it's just, as I said, it's just normal to me. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't upset me. The only thing that I hate, and I would rather be cut open, and I've told many people and doctors this, is a nuclear, a CT scan when they put the dye into you.
Oh yeah.
I something about them. I've never liked them. I don't know.
I had like 5 of those last year, and it was the first time I ever had an experience with them, and it was pretty traumatic. But I now know what to expect, and I know what tools I need to be able to make it through. And honestly, it's that time will pass and it will be over. And that experience sometimes
I
is all
know
you
what's
need.
coming. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just something about that one scan that I just don't like. It's not the claustrophobia. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. But I guess there's one other thing that I didn't really think about until just now. My hot water bottle.
Oh.
90% of the year, I will have a hot water bottle. It can be 40
Mhm.
degrees outside. I don't know what that is in American. Like, that's obviously cold to you, but that's hot to us.
Yeah.
um, it can be 40 degrees outside and I'll still have a hot water bottle. And I've realised over the years it's actually a comfort thing. So I don't have to be sore or anything. And sometimes I don't even have it on me. I just have it next, like touching my leg. Something about it. It's like when a baby has a blankie or a dummy, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
Mine is popsicles.
popsicles.
If I have a popsicle, like it melts. All my problems go away. I am not kidding.
That's funny. I can be mine.
Yeah.
My other one is if I'm really sick, I can be sick with a flu and it doesn't bother me. But when I get nauseous, I just crash and burn as a person. I can't deal with that. I hate it. I don't like anyone being around me. I don't like people looking at me. I don't know. It's really weird. But Coke.
No, that's
Coke.
reasonable.
I've got to have Coke. Coke makes
Oh,
me
really?
feel better. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Sprite all the way.
So it's very interesting to see the different sides.
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine how many different stories there are out there of everyone who has anxiety or depression or whatever that helps them, and
Yeah.
it blows
It would
my
just come
mind.
out in weird ways. Like I'd
Yeah.
see that there's a line at the store and it'd be 4 or 5 people deep, and I would get anxious, like, oh, I have to go wait in a line. Or I would be on the bridge, because there's a bridge, obviously our San Francisco's covered, surrounded by water, and I'd be going over the bridge and I would feel it, the heart palpitations and the sweaty hands, and that was scary. And it's honestly because I never really talked about, my fears and anxieties around getting sick. And now that that's happened, I faced all of my biggest fears in the past year. I have those tools, and, those episodes of anxiety is actually leveled out. But if there's one thing that I would say to anyone who's going through something is have someone to talk to, and just have 2 or 3 things. It doesn't have to be this prescriptive regimen unless that works for you. But for me, getting out in the morning, going for a walk, going for a bike ride, if it gets really bad, that breathing technique, and more importantly, like it's okay to not be okay. So you have to recognize it. And all of the things that we've been through it's difficult, and there you can put glitter and sprinkles and serve it on a beautiful plate, and it's still going to be trauma. So
I think at the end of the day, it's like, I guess from my side, I'd say to people who have, I guess, dealt with this stuff their whole life, that just because you've done it for 26 years in my instance,
be happy.
You can be happy, but you can still have your days where you don't want to get out of bed. But as I say, as long as if you take 1 step foot back or 10 steps back, always take 1 step forward. No matter what. Doesn't matter how many you take back, you at least take 1 forward and you're still okay. And I guess being able to train your mind when you're going through something to know that this is just your normal. Like, you're sick. No, you're sick again. Yeah, it's shit, but there's someone else in the world so much worse off. There could be a little, I've seen so much of that being in kids' hospitals a lot, is as sick as I was, there was a kid there's a baby who was 6 months old dying of leukemia. And it doesn't mean that you're not as important or you're not as bad because your sickness isn't as serious or whatever, because it is. You're just as important as that person down there. But my mentality was there's always someone worse, so that always put things into perspective for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing would be I'd be in the hospital bleeding internally. Yeah, I can't be at home 2 hours away from everybody. Can't do this, can't do that, can't eat. but but my liver's fine. And at the end of the day,
Yes.
if my liver is fine and my levels are great and I'm 26 years post-transplant, that's the whole world in one thing for me. That's all I need to hear, and I'm okay. The rest
Mm-hmm.
is the rest. There are doctors, there are multiple very smart people in this world that can look after you. And no, it doesn't always go the right way. No, it doesn't always sound easy or whatever, but whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. You don't have control. So
I
you
agree
take
that too. I agree
you
with
take the
that.
good with the bad, and you smile when you're
Mm-hmm.
sad. That is
That's
that is
cute.
my motto. Motto. You take the good with the bad, and you
Mm-hmm.
smile when you're sad.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it, and just be patient with yourself. Um, so I'm so
I think
excited that we're able to talk about this.
I just got one last thing to say to mums or dads or any
Mm-hmm.
caregivers with people with a child going through some sort of illness. Mine would be open with them. But the one thing I remember from being sick and always having my mum there was, no matter what was happening, she would make a joke out of what was what was happening. We laughed about something silly that the doctor said, or the way someone, I don't know, their hair was that day. There was always something to joke about. We always made everything, not all the time, but there was always things to joke about, and made it normal to be laughing and not making it serious. But she also never showed her. There was very, very few times I remember of her showing her emotions in front of me, which I knew she was upset, but I guess she didn't want to upset me. But she's a bloody Wonder Woman, that woman. But she, yeah,
All
making the
transplant
jokes.
mamas and daddas are.
They are making the jokes and having fun, and it's just everyday life. Not making the child feel different or out of place, or that they're missing out on
Mm-hmm.
things. Just making it the norm. That really helped me growing up, knowing that this was my norm and that was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's all I have to really say. I could go on for hours talking about this, but we don't have
I
hours,
could too. It's
unfortunately.
so fascinating. Well, and I think, with social media, you get glimpses into people's lives and how they deal with certain situations, or what tools they use. And, that's one of the benefits of the platform, really, which
Yeah.
is pretty phenomenal, because before you could be going through something, but you wouldn't have a solution. But
Yep.
now you can find someone in a very similar situation.
Yep.
Not compare yourself, but say, oh, well, what is that
You
person
don't feel
doing
so,
that
yeah.
is yeah. So that's been really eye-opening, and
You don't
I'm
feel as
excited to,
alone.
yeah, I'm
And
excited to
people,
have that hole filled for the first time in my life.
and I
Which is
love, the
crazy.
one thing I love about it all is you don't even know these people, but they jump on there and they make your day better. They push you on. They say, good job. They get excited about everything in your life and that sort of stuff. And that really makes me happy that everyone's encouraging, and that's a big thing. But my one last thing, make everything better, is to cry. Have a big cry all the time, and it'll make it
Absolutely.
better. Big cry. Just
I
cry it out.
I recently bought some paddle boards, and the first thing I'm going to do is paddle out into the middle of the lake and just scream. And then I'm going to paddle back, and everything's going to be fine. Just
Yeah.
because next month is the 1 year of like everything that happened. And, I've been thinking about that a little bit. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to take some time to talk about it. And
Mm.
I've made up my mind that I'm going to go out into the middle of that lake and I'm just going to scream, let it out, and then just move on.
It somehow is very therapeutic to cry or scream or yell. It
Yes.
works.
Let it out. Don't keep it in. And that's not healthy to keep it in.
No.
No. Well, have fun. You're going camping, right?
Oh, just camping to my husband's nanas. So not camping in public, just to his nanas. They're on a big block of lots of land.
That
So
sounds
still this
like
social
perfect.
distancing and being away, but just for those people who aren't from Australia, our restrictions are easing. So I'm not being silly and just going out about and that sort of thing. We are allowed to do these things now. We only have 2 confirmed cases in my state.
Oh, that is so good to hear. And yeah, we'll have to talk maybe next weekend about like COVID-19 and what we're seeing in our communities, because it'll be interesting to compare and contrast
Yes. Oh, I
San
just want to
Francisco
say
versus where you live.
Queensland. Yeah. I just want to
Yeah,
say
Queensland.
sorry it's taken so long. Sorry it's taken so long to get this podcast out. I've been unwell and just not up physically up to it. So now that I'm back on the bandwagon and feeling myself, I'm glad to be back.
Oh, good. Well, we have all the time in the world. There is no pressure. I just, if we have one conversation that, makes somebody think about something differently, we'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
It's only one person you need to impact and it can change the world.
yes. All right, Liz. Well, so good chatting with
Good
you.
afternoon.
Happy birthday. I got my shoes on, by the way.
I had mine on before.
Oh, they're so cozy. All right. Have
Thank
fun on your
you.
trip.
Bye.
Bye.